Thank you, everyone, and good morning. Hello from Brussels. My name is Jorge Cánovas. I'm project advisor from the European Innovation Council and SME Executive Agency. And on behalf of the agency and all the European Commission, I'm happy to welcome you all here to this Info Day, where we will try to guide you and show you a bit all the details of this new EIC prize that I hope that will help all the humanitarian organizations to scale up their applications. So, next slide, please. The idea here, and that's something that I always like to say to everyone when we talk about the EIC prizes, is why do we have an EIC prize? Because people might think why the European Commission is doing something like this, but then for us it's something really easy. The idea is that what we want to do is via the prizes, we want to support all the public policies that we have now in the European level. So what we want to do is, as you can see here in this slide, we have different EU policies that they are guiding our work, as it can be the new European Innovation Agenda, the Horizon Europe, and of course the EIC work program. All of them, all these three main pillars, they are aimed to support the Green Deal and other like a European Bauhaus, the Renovation Wave, Repower EU, and of course the main purpose of the EIC is the breakthrough innovation. I like to always remind this to all of you because when you will have to draft your applications, these are the main policies that are behind the prices. So try always, as you will see in the different work criteria, try always to link what you are doing with how your work, how your applications are supporting all these objectives. And this is next slide, please. So, and all this is reflected here in the ecosystem, what we call the EIC prizes ecosystem. Actually, this prize, the Humanitarian Innovation Prize, is not a standalone prize in our ecosystem. As you can see here, then there are another 4 EIC prizes that all of them, what they want to do is recognize and promote all the work that all of you, all the actors of the ecosystem, are doing to support innovation from the different files. In the first one, then we have the European Capital of Innovation Awards, iCapital, that is meant for all the cities at European level, and then how the innovation transform the lives of the citizens and also the cities. The second one, we have Women Innovator Prize, that is meant to support the work of women in innovation. The next one is the European Innovation Procurement Awards, that what we want to do here is we want to promote and demonstrate the power of innovation procurement in the way to change in a sustainable way the future. And the last one is the European Social Innovation Competition. In this case, the challenge of this year is fighting energy poverty. And also this one, what we're going to do is support the work of the social innovators to change for the better the life. So here then you can see all of them, and of course the Humanitarian Innovation Prize is the new one that has come and joined to the work that we are doing. I invite you to take a look to the different prizes in our website, and now I will give the floor to our colleague James, who will guide you through the different details of the competition. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Jorge, and for that great introduction and really showing where this prize sits in the ecosystem of prizes. I'm James Carey. I'm from DG ECHO, the humanitarian aid arm of the Commission. I'm the policy officer that leads on our work on innovation and digitalization there. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I thought I would start by giving a brief introduction of why a Humanitarian Innovation Prize, why we want to support innovation in the humanitarian sector. And it all comes really down to the explosion, multiplication in needs that we've experienced over the last 20 or more years, with humanitarian emergencies increasing in number, severity, and amount of people needing aid exploding, and the funding to cover these emergencies, public funding that is not keeping up. This year, there will be something like 274 million people in need of assistance. UN appeals predicted to be less than 50% subscribed, and this is multiplied by tenfold in the last 2 decades. So what this has led to effectively is a big funding gap between the needs and the resources available. And one of the several ways that at the Commission we're trying to help address this funding gap is through leveraging technological innovation to help humanitarian organisations deliver more cost-effective and efficient aid and reach more people effectively. And in doing this, partnerships between the private sector, research community, and humanitarians are really critical for developing and helping to scale promising technologies within and amongst humanitarian actors. There's still not enough of this kind of collaboration going on, and in our view, and our aim is to really increase and promote these partnerships to help recognise innovations and innovators who've developed tools and technologies with real game-changing and life-saving potential. Next slide, please. So this effort follows on a previous initiative of the Commission, which some of you may be aware of, which is the Horizon Prize for Affordable High Tech in Humanitarian Aid, which was awarded in 2020. This awarded 5 different technological solutions, which show, I think, some of the potential for innovations to help solve humanitarian challenges. Just quickly on the winners of that, we had Lumkani, which is the a low-cost community-wide fire alert system for refugee settlements. We had LoRaWAN, which is a UNHCR Internet of Things monitoring tool for monitoring water tankers and reservoirs in real time, and trying to help increase the effectiveness of water trucking globally. BrightMove by the Norwegian SME Bright Products, which is a development of a tool providing refugees with light and energy thanks to a solar phone recharging and light device. And then 2 innovations which you'll hear more about later from one of our testimonials, the Terrafa, which is a 3D printing device for prosthetic limbs, and Odyssey 2025, which is a drone mounted mine or demining system. I leave the details of that to our testimonial later from Humanitarian Inclusion. So I think this gives a flavour of the type of solutions that we could be looking for under this prize and of their potential impact. Next slide, please. So this new prize, InnovAid, the European Prize for Humanitarian Innovation, is slightly different in execution, but really has similar aims to that previous prize, which are: 1, to support the deployment of innovation by the humanitarian community. Secondly, to increase the involvement of the private sector and research communities and cooperation between these communities and humanitarians. And then in doing so, to recognise technologies which have been deployed in humanitarian assistance, which have clear game-changing and life-saving potential, and to really try and help these technologies scale up further within the humanitarian system and increase their market share. Next slide, please. So in terms of details, how we're going to do this, well, we will award the European Prize for Humanitarian Innovation to 1 winner and 2 runners-up. This is aimed the awarding is aimed to be next year at the European Humanitarian Forum, which is held in Brussels at the start of each year. The winner will receive the title of European Prize for Humanitarian Innovation winner, and will get an award of €250,000. The second and third place entries will receive 150 and 100,000 euro prize respectively. Just to be clear what the prize is, it's a recognition prize. It's not the seed funding or a piloting prize. So what we're really looking for are entries that have already proven some impact in humanitarian assistance. The aim of awarding this prize to technologies that were being developed is to help them gain visibility and recognition within this humanitarian system, and to help them to be scaled within and among different organizations. So it's not project-based. It's not like some of you may be familiar with our humanitarian grant funding. It's not the same. There are not strict criteria for what you must do with the award, and there's not a particular back and forth or dialogue between the applicants and the Commission once the applications have taken place. And once the prize has been awarded, DG ECHO at least will be looking at ways to help support the winners and their innovations to use the awarding of the prize to help in the scaling and promotion of their tools that they've developed. Next slide, please. So quite importantly on the eligibility criteria, to apply for this prize, you must be an organisation, so humanitarian or non-governmental, private company, research institution, or another legal entity, and you must be established in the European Union, effectively means headquartered, or in one of the Horizon Europe associated countries. Very briefly, but this is available online, those countries are Albania, Armenia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Faroe Islands, Georgia, Iceland, Israel, Kosovo, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Norway, Serbia, Tunisia, Turkey, and Ukraine. And then there are 3 transitional countries which may also be eligible, which are Morocco, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. So if you are established in one of those countries, you then also have to have not been a recipient of a previous EU or Euratom prize for the same technology. So to be clear, this is not to mean that you cannot have received EU funding, for example, humanitarian or development grants from the European Commission, but just that you cannot have received a prize award for the same technology you're applying under this prize with. Next slide, please. To go briefly through the award criterion, which is probably the most important thing for the people here today. There are 4. The first criteria is innovation. So very simply, the solution has to be something new and innovative, which could mean either something that designs or makes use of technology that's not currently widely used in the humanitarian sector, or it could equally mean using an existing technology or solution in a new way or for the first time in a particular humanitarian context. So effectively, the solution will be measured against, and this is true for all categories, but very particularly in this one, it'll be measured against the amount it differs from existing practices, tools, and technologies used in humanitarian aid. So some comparative analysis is always useful in these categories. This category also measures the extent to which the solution has been successfully deployed already in a humanitarian aid environment. So we need to see, I think, some evidence of its deployment and the impact it's had. And finally, I think applicants should consider demonstrating how the technology could be scaled up or used in the future in different contexts or at different scale to really give us an idea of how potentially systemic or game-changing the technology could be. Next slide, please. The second criterion is quality and sustainability. And here we're measuring how the technology use has led to a more effective and sustainable humanitarian response. So we're not seeking the use of technology for its own sake, but it has to really be linked to a better response for the end users. Again, here, comparative analysis is key, showing how the solution improves on or differs from existing practices. For example, in terms of how it is more robust, or provides a better service to the end users, or deploys a more efficient use of resources, or even how it has the ability to be supplied or repaired locally rather than internationally. Next slide, please. The third criterion is on affordability and cost effectiveness. So as mentioned at the start, this is really a key criteria for us, a key factor for us in the need for innovation in humanitarian aid to help address this funding gap that I mentioned. And here, I think what you're looking to explain is how the solution presents better value for money compared to existing practices. So either better value for money in its initial deployment or the potential to do so when deployed at scale. And I think it's important to say that this needs to be an analysis of all the costs involved in the design and implementation, so including supply chain, installation, production, and maintenance costs of any technological solution. Next slide, please. And then finally, the last criteria is engagement with the end users. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, that it's vital not to lose sight of who we are innovating for, and to ensure in some sense that the innovation meets the needs of people who will be using it. whether those are humanitarian organizations themselves or directly the vulnerable people in need. So I think we would like to see here some evidence that the solution was developed or deployed using a needs-based approach and in an inclusive manner, so involving some type of consultation with the end users. Next slide. So here's how it works in practice. The call is open now, and you have until the 3rd of October to submit your applications. The applications will be assessed first to see if they meet the eligibility criteria, and then secondly by a jury of independent experts. We expect to announce finalists in early 2024. So these would be the most promising entrants, which we see as a helpful step to in the promotion, even of the innovations who are not eventually winners. And then we will award the prize to the winners, the three winners at the European Humanitarian Forum in Brussels, which will take place in sometime in the first or second quarter in 2024. The date is yet to be fixed. Next slide, please. So yeah, this has been a very brief summary of the various criteria and rationale. But just to say that all the details of the competition, so how to enter, the rules of contest, the award criteria, etc., can be found at the website of the prize, which is accessible through this QR code. And I think my colleagues will also be sharing this information with you following this presentation. So thank you for your time. I think we'll hand back to Jorge now, or directly to the testimonials, and then we will have time for Q&A on these points later.
Thank you very much. Thank you, James. So my name is Pierre Gaillin, and I'm actually the director from a division called Innovation, Impact and Information from Humanitarian Inclusion. So thank you very much, James, to give us the opportunity to share our experience and to contribute to this prize. Before to explain my testimony and to explain what we have done with our prize, I would like to thank you very much from this new prize. It was really great for us to receive this initial prize, and I think it's very valuable for everybody to have this opportunity to show experience, to show what they have done, and to have the opportunity to receive a new prize. So thank you very much for this new prize. So as you say, we received two prizes in the previous one. One for a project called Odyssey 2020. Next slide, please. Odyssey 2025 was a project. The problem was how can we work faster, safer, or more cost efficient when we do humanitarian demining. The idea was humanitarian demining is very processing, it's very controlled, it's very hard to change the process when you do demining because it's quite controlled and standardized. And the idea that we have is how can we use drone in support to these different phases of the humanitarian demining. To give you an example, next slide, please. The drone process allows to do very quickly and very efficiently high-level map resolutions, mapping. And by looking at this simply at this map on the visual spectrum, we can find some evidence of deminer. So what you see in the yellow plot is what we have found by using a drone of suspected ground sign of mining. And when you see in the red plot, actually, it's evident when later on there was some deminer that went into the area, they find the real mine in this place. So by using simply this visual mapping on this cartography, we give the opportunity to reduce and to be much more cost effective when we send the deminer on the field. We work more safely, and it was a great cost saving when you send your deminer. Next slide, please. The second project that we have was when we do physical rehabilitations, one of the problems that we face is that people have some difficulty to access to the center. And we usually see that people who access to the center, live very close to the center. And that's a real problem because most of the people who need the services are not so close to the center of rehabilitation, So the problem was how can we improve the access to orthopedic services for these vulnerable populations? On the Terrifa project is not only a 3D printing solutions, but it's a real process to review the process of rehabilitation and how a digitalization could allow a patient that is far from the center to access the services. Next slide, please. Just to explain you briefly, I mean, when we just start by doing a clinical assessment in the hospital, but this clinical assessment could be done in a refugee camp, for example. The second phase, what we are doing a scanning with a portable scanner of the member of the need of the patients. And then when we have the scanning and when we have this digital footprint of the patients, we can design make a production with the 3D printing. On this design, on this production are not necessarily done in the same place where we have done the assessment and when we have done the scanning. Then we go to finalization of the assembly, and then we go back to the patient in the refugee camp, for example, to do the fitting, and then we, of course, do the follow-up of this patient. So the Terrifa project is a real complete solution, not only using the 3D, but using the power of the digitalizations to bring more access and to facilitate the access to the services to the population. All the pictures that you see in this slide are coming from a project that we are running today, currently in North Uganda, in the refugee camp in the North Uganda. Next slide, please. So if we have to go back to the price, what was the main added value to receive a prize for us? And of course, first of all, I mean, receive an amount of money, and it was very interesting for an organization like us to receive this fund and to have the opportunity we decided, our top management decided to create a specific fund dedicated to innovation and only focus on innovation. So it allows us to develop more technical research, new proof of concept, and to facilitate the replication of innovative projects. Because as you explained, James, and it was very interesting that this prize is focusing really on this particular phase after when we have developed a proof of concept on what we do with a proof of concept, how we replicate this proof of concept, how we go from something that has been efficient in one context to something that could be scaled up in different contexts, scale up in different organizations. So that's really interesting to get this point. The second point, maybe to highlight receiving a prize, and that we maybe don't think too much about it, it's the internal recognition. It was really great for us. I mean, everybody who works on innovation knows that. Innovation is fun when we talk with somebody, but when we start to implement innovation, to move your team on innovation, to try to engage people on innovation, it's more and more, it's quite difficult. And people are sometimes very reluctant to change and to see innovation as a progress rather than an additional difficulty in their work. So receiving a prize is some way a real great internal recognitions for our top management, for also to make sure that we are recognized from our top management, but also from the middle management, from our program director, from our partners in the field, and they clearly see that what we are doing makes sense for them or makes sense for the whole community. The third point, which was very interesting also, it was external recognition, of course. Receiving a prize gives us the opportunity to communicate on our innovation, to communicate on our vision of innovation, on what we intend to do with the innovation, to present the next step of these two projects, because it's always a project need to be improved all the time. It's not when you have been successful in doing one innovation that should stop here. I mean, you always have to improve it, and you all know that. So it was quite interesting for us to give this opportunity, to use the prize as an opportunity, as a kind of label to show to other donors, to other university, what can be done with us and what can be done in these two fields of physical rehabilitation on humanitarian demining. Next slide, please. Just to give you 3 examples about what we have done with the fund received from the prize. The first example is on Terrify. When we consider rehabilitations, physical rehabilitation is a whole set of services. On one side, you have the production of orthosis and prosthesis. On the other side, you have all the physiotherapy component. And it's the same problem when you're looking at the physiotherapist component and then you are looking at the orthosis and prosthetic production. So we have developed, it gives us the opportunity to develop the physiotherapist system, a whole digital physiotherapy system to allow people to have access to tailored rehabilitation treatment program at home in different and to follow the patient from this digital solution. So we have developed this digital solution, open rehabilitation, and to know it's been deployed. I mean, we are in a process to deploy it in our different program and with different partners on the other organizations. The second example that can be highlighted is that we have the opportunity to create a real alliance with an engineering school based in Lyon, in France, called INSA, which is quite recognized in France as one of the major schools. And it has 2 main objectives or main impact. First of all, we create this research share to make sure that we can complement the innovation with new research, new technical research. And for example, on rehabilitation, we are working on we are currently working on the type of material, on how to improve the design of orthoptic or prosthetic, how we can use new type of plastic for 3D printing orthosics on this type of thing. We are also working on to complement the demining, the drone project, the Odyssey 2025 project, by looking at different type of sensor. I mean, we have done some exercise, we have done some tests with thermal sensor, but now we are working on LIDAR, we are working on multispectral sensor, on how we could improve the use of drone in the demining field. Next slide, please. And it's quite important to have this opportunity to have long-term research with PhD, with the university, to develop some really nice solution. On the next slide is, of course, we also work on new proof of concept. We have the opportunity to work on new proof of concepts that we just launched. On the new proof of concept that we are currently testing in Colombia is how we can equip our deminer teams with portable camera within a complete independent internet system. Next slide, please. And I think I'm done, and I'm very happy to answer your questions if they come.
Thank you very much, Pierre. We go now into the Q&A. We will share in a moment the Slido interface, and we will reply to all your questions. Please do not forget to ask your question in Slido using the event code InnovAid.
Okay, so thank you very much, Pierre, for your amazing presentation. As you can see, then the value of the price and then supporting all this is really big. And then because you are all doing a really good work, and then it's not only about the money that, of course, I guess that as Pierre mentioned, then it can support, but also it's a recognition. It's also a way to put you on the spotlight. So I think this is all the value that we want to give with this prize. So then now let's pass, as my colleagues mentioned, let's pass now to the different questions that you are now putting on a Slido. And please also feel free, if you have any other while we talk, then to put them here in in this part. So let's start then with any tips from your experience for applicants to the InnovAid prize. So Pierre, if you want, the floor is yours, and then later I might give you some others.
So yes, of course, I can use some tips, but probably there's a lot of tips that are specific to humanitarian inclusion, handicap international. But I try to share my experience of working on innovation. First of all, I think it's quite important to get your commitment from your top management. It's something important to say, okay, you are going to apply to a prize. Make sure that the top management is behind you, is supporting you, to give you enough time, enough support, and also to, when you will look at contribution from your team, it will help to say, okay, the top management wants to get this prize on, are really behind the process. The second point, but it's more on the thing, is on this specific prize, I think technique is important. Probably the technical aspect of the innovation is important, but it's not everything. And definitely, I mean, you have to pay attention of the whole process of innovations. James already tell a little of criteria that will be applied to select the owner of the prize. But from our experience, we see that usually what blocks the scaling process is not the technical part. It's really the logistic part. I mean, how the innovations come in the process. What are the changes bring by the innovation? What are the resistance to the change? What make it difficult for the different teams to adopt these innovations? So that lead me to my first tip is you have to pay attention to who is your client. And I use the word client explicitly. I mean, who will buy your innovation? Who will be the one who will promote your innovation at the end? And sometimes, or most of the time, the end user is not the client. So we have to really take care about what are the resistance from the clients. And then my last tip, but it has been already highlighted by James, and it's something that I'm very much concerned. I'm quite sensitive about it. Is what is the effort? I mean, to spend some time on the monitoring, on bringing evidence, to build some system to test the solutions. I mean, how can we do to have strong evidence that the innovation that we are working on is really cost effective, is really an additional value for the end user. It's really something that will change the way we work on a humanitarian context.
Thank you, Pierre. And now let's see our colleague James, that maybe also you can share some of the tips that you learned from the past experience in the previous prize, that maybe could the applicants, they could learn a bit more on how to draft what we always call a winning application.
Thank you, Jorge, and thanks to Pierre. I think there's very useful tips, and I would really echo quite a few of them. I think to add to that, I would reinforce what I was saying during my presentation about the need for comparative analysis. I mean, I think stronger applications in the past have really shown against an existing practice what is the change. How is it going to be more cost effective? What is the potential to change business practices and to really transform the system over time? So that aspect of comparison, I think, should not just be assumed, but has to be, I think, central to the presentation. I think the second tip I would say is to very much concentrate on the novelty of the solution, because the least, or the strongest entries rather, that I have seen in the past were always ones that had really demonstrated that the solution was a step change, or how exactly this was a new application of technology. I mean, in the humanitarian sector, we're probably not inventing completely new technologies that no one's ever heard of, but rather redeploying ones that are quite well known in different contexts and so on. So I think really expanding and spending some time on the definitely on the first criteria, on the innovative aspects, is quite important, because it can be difficult sometimes for judges to see really what is the novelty sometimes in solutions. So I think I would stop there, because Pierre also I think mentioned most of the ones that I would also rather cover.
Thank you, Pierre and James. And then from my side, I also wanted to add a couple of things based on the experience that we have in managing the other EIC prices. Then always applicants, they say what they ask, what they should write, how is the way that they should reflect their projects, the different works that they are doing in the application. What we always say, you will see in the rule of contents that you have the different award criteria. All of them you really need to fulfill. You really need to demonstrate how your application meets all the criteria. So let's say, for example, that you have in the criteria number 1, then you have an excellent, then you demonstrate everything, you have plenty of information, but you don't put anything on the criteria number 3 or 4, then it means that you will not be qualified, because you have a threshold in the 4 of them. So you really need to be excellent in the 4, in all the criteria to be the winner. So that's a really important tip that you have to. And what we always try to say is that you need to build a narrative about your application. You need to demonstrate all the award criteria, and that everything is like, let's say, they have some kind of harmony between all of them. So please keep that in mind. Also remember what I said before about the policy objectives, that then how the innovation, how your application is supporting also the award criteria, that at the end is also reflected in the different policy objective of the application of the competition. So is all of this what I wanted also for you to bear in mind. And also something really important, try to always support your comments and your statements with data, with figures, with budgets, with really impact. So because the jury members, when they will assess your applications, they will take a look to that to see if what you are saying, it's, let's say, really consistent, or it's only a general statement. So please bear in mind all these things. So now let's move to the next one. Can you explain what the main barrier is to scaling pilot innovations, and how can an innovation prize help? So maybe Pierre, maybe you can take this question, because I think that this is also for you, and also our colleague James later from DG ECO.
So thanks. For me, the first barrier, it's really what will be addressed by the prize, is the gap of funding between 2 phases of innovation development. I mean, we usually be able to find some funding to develop a new proof of concept, or to develop new idea, either from our own funding or from institutional funding. On them, you usually face a kind of gap in the system between the phase where you have already a proof of concept, you test your proof of concept in the field, and you want to either to replicate in another country, or to try to scale it up in the same country. But once you have this gap of funding, you have the risk to lose all your expertise on all your experience. So it would be very much interested to get some opportunity to receive a prize to fill this gap of funding. That's the first difficulty. The second difficulty is, but it's quite classical, so sometimes, is really to engage with the end user and to engage with the partners very early in the process, to make sure that the idea that you had will match with the context, will match with the local system on the local ecosystem. So pay attention. It could take some time to engage with this discussion with this partner, to engage with the team, to engage communication with the end user. That's the second point. The third point might be to do not hesitate. As I say, we we are usually technical people. We are usually people that are focusing on technical part, on the way how it works, what are the added value that we bring, what are the evidence that we can have to show this added value. And we are not very good as an innovator in communication, but we have to be more communicant in a way, to explain to be communicant, to explain the solution in a very simple way, in a very simple word, to spend some time on communications material, on communication, to simplify the solution, to simplify what we want to do, and to show and to focus on the solution, and to focus on what will be new in the way to address existing on the long-term existing problem. That will be my two main barriers, but of course there's a lot of additional barriers. I cannot speak about hours on the subject.
Maybe James wants to complement.
Thanks. Yes, not too much to add to. I think Pierre's experience is rather more valid in this case. But from what we see in DG ECHO in the Commission, I think the main challenges that we face when organisations come to us with innovations are that there's not been that much thought about how it relates to what other actors are doing. So how other actors in the ecosystem might be convinced to adopt or to start buying the product outside of the initial operation that the proposing entity has developed it for. I think there's a difficulty as well in the duality of designing an innovation with a specific challenge in mind, right? Which is one of the key criteria around specifically humanitarian innovation, but also doing that with one eye on a prospective business case for scaling, which is going to involve seeing how it's adaptable to different challenges in different contexts. It's something that we often don't see that much thought having gone into. And then I think finally, just probably the biggest challenge is that quite often I think innovation sells in organizations, especially humanitarian organizations, are quite separated from other parts of the business, and so there often is not really much of a prospective route to scaling even within the organization put forward, let alone among other organizations. So I think hopefully the prize is aimed at kind of addressing some of these challenges of developing business cases and to really helping innovation units gain recognition for their innovations, both within their organizations and also within the wider community. Thanks.
Thank you, James. And now let's talk about the other part of the question, then how the innovation prize can help. So as I mentioned before, it's really important that you have the price is not only about the money. Of course, here we are talking about a lot of money that might help you to scale up your innovation, and I'm sure that it will make a big difference to all of you. We have seen that in the different prizes that we have. For example, now you saw before the social innovation competition that is around 50,000 euros for the winner, and that was the difference for them, for the winning team, to be able to continue their work or not. So then in this case it's much bigger, the cash award, so I'm sure that it will really help you continue the excellent work that you are all doing. But it's not only about the money. So here the important thing is also about the recognition that you will get from the whole community. As James said, then the whole European Commission, but especially DG ECHO and the EISMEA, the agency, we are supporting this initiative. And then you could see it already that the commissioner he was the one launching this prize in the last humanitarian forum here in Brussels, and he will be the one most likely also who will award that in the next forum in the 2024. So that shows that is the big commitment of the European Commission on this prize. And then what it will get is that you will have this brand that you have been the winner of the first edition of the competition, and that will bring you, of course, a lot of visibility at European level and between your peers. And we also hope that then what we get with this, we will try to connect you with different innovators from the community of the EIC. And then it's a place where all the innovators meet. We have procurers, we have SMEs, we have cities. So we have plenty of people who talk and discuss about innovation, and of course that they do business between all of them. So that, as you can see, is a full package of what you will get with this prize. So now let's move to the next slide. Will process innovations with minimal tech solutions be eligible for this prize as well? So here, because it's not always the same definition or the same concept that you might have what is a minimal tech solution or not, so the level, maturity, etc. So when I receive these questions, I always say to all of you that please read carefully the rule of contest, so because then is there where we define what we expect from all of you. The important thing, the first of all, is the eligibility criteria. So if you fulfill, if you are eligible, then of course you can come to the competition, and then in this case you have to demonstrate how your solutions, how your process, how you call it, or your technical solution meets the 4 criteria. So we have the innovative solution, quality and sustainability, affordability and cost effectiveness, and engagement with end users. So there is where you have to really demonstrate how your tech solution meets and fulfills the different parts of the rule of contest. And then I think this is also linked to the next question that I can see here. Are the innovation concepts limited to just tech solutions for these awards? In this case, as I mentioned before, then we are looking for, it's in humanitarian innovation, so we are looking for technological solutions. But if you think that your proposal meet the criteria, so the award criteria, so as I mentioned before, you are eligible and it meets the 4 award criteria, please put it forward, and it will be up to later to the jury members to decide and to see if it's really winning proposal or not. So let's see then the next question. New concepts are being developed currently in conjunction with local stakeholders. Will this be eligible with no minimal field level testing? I will give now the floor to James to tell you a bit more about this level of testing. But what, as mentioned in the same line of what I said before, the important thing here is that first you need to be eligible, and then later you really need to demonstrate the 4 award criteria. And then in this case, what can happen, as we can see, for example, in award criteria number 1, innovative solution, it concretely says an innovative solution tested successfully and safely in a humanitarian aid environment on a sufficient scale. So here, in this case, you will need to demonstrate how your proposal has been tested successfully and safely on a sufficient scale, because the problem that you might have is that if, for example, if in this first award criteria you receive a 0 because it has not been tested, then you can be excellent in criteria 2, 3, and 4, but if you receive a 0 in the first one, then you will be out, because then you also need to see, when you will see in the different award criteria, there is a threshold that you have to pass on the 4 of them. So it's a 6 or 8 in some of them. So please take a look on that, because you have to pass the threshold, the individual thresholds, and also you have to pass then later the overall threshold for all of them. So as I said, so to be a bit more concrete, so if you don't fulfill one of the criteria, then you will receive below the threshold, and then you will be disqualified. So I don't know, James, if you would like to add something else about the field level testing.
Yeah, thanks. No, I mean, I think mainly I would just echo what you said. These would be, eligible, but indeed you have to look particularly at the first criteria where field testing, where recognition of something that's already had impact is one of the sub criteria, one of the clauses in that criterion. So it may be that the case that it's relatively less well judged as a result of that. And the reason that we want to have field level testing is because it's a recognition prize. We want to recognize technologies that have already demonstrated impact, and I think it's relatively harder to do that if you have not been able to deploy already. I think that should answer that one. And maybe just one word on the tech versus non-tech solution. Again, as Jorge said, if you feel it addresses the criteria, please do apply. Technology is referenced under several criteria, but it's not a blocking criteria. So therefore, you may feel that your solution complies enough with the criteria to nonetheless make an application. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, James. And this it's really good that you mentioned that this is a recognition prize, because, well, I don't see now this question here, but I want to mention that. So what recognition prize means, it sounds a bit redundant, but is of course that what we want to do is we want to recognize the work that you have done until the moment that you will submit your application. So it means it will be then October 2023. So everything that you have done until then is what the jury members will be able to assess. So, for example, all the work then is okay, even if there are some activities that are still ongoing, you are still doing something, then you can present everything. But even if they're not finished or completed, then you can present everything, but the jury members will only assess what has been done at this stage. So, for example, if you say this application, now making the link with the test, then if you say, for example, we have this application, but we will test it in 2024, then, as James mentioned, then you will receive really few points because it has not been tested and it cannot be considered as a recognition. Okay. So then let's go to the one on the territorial eligibility criteria. Are organizations based in third countries eligible, or only if based in member states and the 16th country with EU Horizon Association agreements? So this is a general rule. This is stated in the rule of contest, and then only if they are, as we mentioned before, then to be eligible, you have to be located in one member state or in one of the countries associated to Horizon Europe. So this is the rules for this prize. So unfortunately, if you are not in this situation, then you will not be eligible to participate. So maybe, I don't know, Maria Laura, we could see, because I'm talking about the territorial part. Then I saw there were some questions about UK and also about Switzerland. I don't know if we can put them on the screen. Yes. So here now let's talk about UK. So the UK, as you know, they are in principle eligible. You can go. Let me see exactly which part of the rule of contest. So it's in the, now that we are talking about eligibility, so you can see it in the Article 6. So that there are, in this case, the UK and some other countries, they could fall in the part that is countries negotiating associated agreements to Horizon Europe. So in this case, let's put it in a bit more clear. So we talked before that to be directly eligible, then you have to be based on European Union member states or associated countries associated to Horizon Europe. In this case, there are also some countries, as is the case of UK, who are still now negotiating with the European Union to be associated to Horizon Europe. So what will mean is that then if you are based in UK, you can apply, you can participate in the competition, but you will be on, if, for example, you are the winner, you can only be the winner if at the time that we take the award decision, so when we say the winner is this team, then at the time, then the UK or another country who is that is negotiating with the EU, then has signed in the association agreement. If that is not the case, then unfortunately you will not be able to be named the winner, and then you will be ineligible for that. So that's, I hope that this was clear. So I said, so you can participate, you can apply, but to be the winner, then at the moment, then the UK needs to have signed the agreement with the European Union, otherwise you will be ineligible. And in the case of Switzerland, I don't know if James, you want to comment on Switzerland, or you want I continue with this?
Well, no, I'm happy to. I mean, it's quite, I think, simple that Switzerland is not one of the eligible countries, and so unfortunately, organizations based in Switzerland would not be eligible for in this case.
Yeah, thank you. So if you want to hear also, James, the next one maybe are solutions focusing on disaster preparedness, such as early warning systems eligible for the prize?
Yes, yeah, indeed. I think disaster preparedness is covered in one of the humanitarian contexts that we're looking at. I mean, the application of humanitarian context is quite broad, but disaster preparedness traditionally considered one of the sectors in which we work. So, in principle, yes, that would be eligible.
Thank you, James. And now let's talk about the page limit. Okay, so the page limit, you can see that in the rule of contest. Then when I think it's 15 pages. So what when you will go to the system, when you will go to the funding attendance portal, then you will see that then you will have a template to fill in, and then but you don't have there's no restriction on how you have to use the different how you have to fill in the different award criteria. So in principle, you can put, for example, plenty of information about criteria number 1, 2, and 3, and then you put really few in award criteria number 4. The problem that you might have here is that then you will receive excellent points in the 1, 2, and 3, but you will receive really few and below the threshold on the number 4. So what will mean is that then you will be out of the competition. So what we always say is that then you are free to decide how to fill in your application. But as mentioned before, please try to find a balance between the 4 award criteria to make sure that you are not, that you respect and you do everything as it should be. Okay. So the next one, is it possible to submit 2 applications for 2 different innovations? Yes, you can do it. There's no restriction for that. Only please be aware of one thing, and that is what we call the double funding principle. That in practice, what it means is that the same innovation or the same activity cannot be funded twice, cannot receive a prize twice. So if you present one innovation and this is the winner application, then the second one most likely they could not be winner, because then there can be some synergies, there can be some things that have been already awarded in the first application. So be really careful on that. But in principle, you can submit 2 applications for 2 different innovation, or if you think that, for example, both of them, they are part of the same package, and then both of them, they are stronger. If you present it in your application, then as you think that is better. So you can keep and you can reflect internally how you think that your application will be stronger to win the others. How finalized does the innovation have to be? Can we still be in the final stage of an extended pilot? Sorry, I think I lost the question. Yeah, here. Can we still be in the final stage of an extended pilot field test when applying? So here I would like to recall what James said before. So maybe James, you want to repeat about again your explanation about the field, what we want to do here.
Thanks. Yeah, indeed. I mean, as the tested at a sufficient scale is one of the sub-criterion of one of the categories. This example would be eligible, but you would have to be confident that it would score highly enough on tested at a sufficient scale. So if you could provide, I mean, in very specific respect to this question, a nearly finalized pilot, if you have concrete evidence coming from that pilot which shows the impact at a scale you feel is relevant, then it has a reasonable chance of scoring well, and therefore could be a good candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, James. So now let's go to the next question that maybe also you would like to take. The social inclusion of migrants and refugees under the spectrum of the price.
Yes, thank you. So refugees, I think if you have a technological innovation that's impacting refugees in one of the eligible countries, then I think that is quite clear. I mean, sorry, I should just go back at one point that an eligible country is a country deployed in a country where there is a humanitarian emergency, and this generally is taken to mean a country with suffering from the impacts of a natural disaster, natural or man-made disaster, or one facing preparedness activities for such a disaster. So if it is that context and it is focused on refugees, then that would certainly be within the spectrum. Migrants is a little bit more challenging. It would be a subjective decision of the judge in this case, because migrants are not in every case subject to humanitarian support, and therefore it would be difficult to say whether in every case they would fall, an innovation impacting specifically migrants would fall under the criteria of this prize. I think you would have to clarify for yourself or be confident yourself that that migrants are impacted in some way by a humanitarian emergency, and if so, then indeed that would fall under the spectrum of the prize.
Yeah, thank you. And now the last one I see here is for Pierre. What support would be useful from the EU side to support the scaling up of the winning innovations?
Yes, difficult questions to answer this session. It has to be linked to what we could consider as a successful innovation. I mean, for me, your innovation, your idea, I always say innovation is not inventing. Innovation is more than inventing a new solution. Innovation is when your invention, when your solution is endorsed, is adopted by the community or by your organization, of course, but more than your organization, by the whole sector. So what we expect from the EU is probably to facilitate the communications, to facilitate the presentation, to facilitate this exchange on the different solutions, on the evidence that has been collected to prove that our innovation or our solution is working. On that, maybe something to keep the dialogue, or to facilitate the dialogue between the different actors, I mean, between organizations, of course, but also between organizations and university, because sometimes we are lacking of competencies, or we are lacking of some skill. I'm thinking about artificial intelligence or data management, for example. It is something quite difficult, skills that are difficult to find within the scope of the humanitarian actor. So we probably could get some support from university or from specialized or private companies that are specifically working on this sector. That maybe is something that we can expect from the EU to support innovation. We can think also, I'm quite convinced that exchange of experience, exchange of between people, exchange program could be an added value that could be useful for the whole humanitarian sector to make sure that all the ideas circulate within the sector. How we can circulate the idea, we can circulate the evidence, also to have more discussion about evidence that are supported on innovation would be useful.
Thank you, Pierre. And then that reminds me what I said at the very beginning. So the idea that we want to do from the European Commission and also from the agency, in our case, the agency is the new agency that has been established to support breakthrough innovation, to support startups, to support innovators. So the idea, what we want to do through the different prizes is exactly what Pierre is mentioning. So we are here to help you to scale up your proposals. We are here to help you to test what you are doing, to fund and to let's say, to fill the gap on the investment that you might have. So that's also the way that the EIC will support the innovations. And in this case, the winners of the different prizes, they come and they join the EIC family. So they join the EIC Alumni Network Prize, the EIC Prizes Alumni Network that is confirmed by the different winners. So we have social innovators, we have cities that won the iCapital, we have now also procurers. So all of them, they talk between them, and also they talk with the members of the EIC community platform, and then between all of them they make, let's say, not only business, but they help. For example, in this case, somebody's looking for a lab city to test their application. So they have different cities that are excellent doing the innovation in Europe. So they can find this kind of agreements, and it's really easy then to let's say to boost what they are doing in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, of course, all this communication, all this exchange has to happen everywhere in the world, not only in Europe. We have to take care and to make sure that the country where we are working, the partners where we are working, there's more and more, we see more and more hubs in Africa, in Asia, in South Africa that are working on innovation, and we have to exchange with all these hubs to get more benefit or more idea on how to address the main problem of humanitarian context.
Indeed, Pierre. So thank you very much. And then now I think this one, I don't know if the last question, that if the prize will be launched again in 2024. So now at this stage we cannot confirm you, because then, as you know, the different activities from the EIC, from the European Commission, are based in the annual work program. But of course, it's now we are focusing on the 2023 to make it a success, the first edition, and hopefully, if then there will be also a 2024 edition. But this is something that we will confirm you later in autumn. But hopefully, so now let's all focus together on making a big success on the 2023 edition, and then like this we will have another extra reason to keep doing the prize for the 2024. So thank you very much. I don't know if there is any other question that somebody would like to put here forward, and otherwise, if not, then yes. Will the runners-up also receive support from the EU? So of course, so the support. So first of all, then you will receive the budget. The CAS award. So the second, the third will receive a CAS award. And the idea is that the three of them, then they will be supported by the EIC, as I mentioned. So all the supporting activities that you will have, all this visibility at the European level. So and also what we always do with the different prizes, when there is an activity or when there is a communication or an event or etc., then we always like to take the different winners with us. For example, now a couple of months ago, then there was a big delegation that went to the States to make some, to showcase their applications, to do some business at the other side of. And then it was confirmed by some of the winners of our prizes. So then there's also a possibility for you to have that. And also, for example, in the couple of weeks, we'll have a big event about sustainable cities. So we are taking there the winners of iCapital. We are taking also then the runners-up, then to showcase, to demonstrate, to talk, and to share the knowledge. So as you can see, this is something, it's a big package of what we want to do with all the winners, and of course, there's the runners-up of the different prizes. So please really try to do it, give it a try, because it's a really nice opportunity to be part of this competition. So if there's no other question, then now just I would like to thank to all my colleagues. I don't know, maybe to Pierre, if you want to have some last words to the audience. And also I'll give it to James. And with this, we will, so James will close the meeting. And thank you very much to everyone for being part of this competition. And then hope to see you. And when we will close the deadline, hope to see all your applications here. So thank you. And Pierre, thank you very much.
No, I just want to thanks again, ECHO and the European Union, to have this opportunity, to give this opportunity to apply for prize, for new prize. And I just want to wish all the best to the different organizations that will submit an idea. And even if you are not successful, or even, I mean, if you don't win the prize, the important is the process. And I'm quite sure that all the ideas that will be submitted are very valuable, and will have some line beyond the prize.
So thank you all for taking part today, and we really appreciate the interest in this prize and hope to receive lots of interesting applications over the coming months for the judging in the autumn. If there are any questions or additional questions, or if you wish to apply, you could go to the website, which I hope will be coming up on the screen in a second, or if you type into Google European Prize for Humanitarian Innovation, you'll find the website of the prize where the rules for contest, all the application details, and initial frequently asked questions, as well as contact details. So hopefully there you'll have all the information you need. But yeah, indeed, feel free to reach out to some of the contact details provided below if there's an additional question that you might have. So otherwise, we will close it at that and say good luck to everyone for your applications, and yes, hope to have a very good and interesting contest. Thank you.